is with facilities. We have Chief Terry Enoch with Campus Police. We also have Justin Pratt, he is Campus Police as well with our Emergency Management Office. And we have Kurt Hediger, Public Affairs and Administrative Services Chief. Before I call Dr. Levette up to kind of give her opening remarks, and like those first three people will give some main remarks, answering some of your main questions, and then all these folks, and they are here as well to answer any other questions you may have. I wanted to let everybody know, just because we've had some questions, today is an early dismissal day for Savannah Chatham County Public Schools. All schools are dismissing students 3 hours earlier than the regular time. This is not related to coronavirus. This is a pre-planned early dismissal day that's been on the calendar for a year. Next week, Savannah Chatham County Public Schools are out. Again, not related to the coronavirus. It is spring break. It has been on the calendar for a year. All right, I'm gonna call up Dr. Levette now to give you some opening remarks and kind of a 10,000-foot overview of district planning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. It is our opportunity to give very important information, or certainly sought out information in a very organized manner. We appreciate the interest and appreciate your support in helping us get the information out to those who have an intense interest on how we are responding as a district to the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. We've been very fortunate in Savannah to have other emergencies that allow us to learn each other and learn how to collaborate. You don't want to say that when there's an emergency, but clearly you don't want to be in the middle of an emergency and try to form relationships. So we've been able to do that over the past several years with our hurricanes, our tornadoes, our snowstorms, and all those other events which really force us to rely on each other and to develop systems and have those in place and get really good practice for how you deal with unknown conditions. What is facing us this time, of course, is something that we've not felt or really experienced since 1918. We had the last flu pandemic in the United States. So the conditions are very different, but what I will say is that we are very fortunate to have skilled people on staff, to have dedicated persons on staff as well, and to have a really great resource of community professionals that we can call on during this time. You might recall that the school district issued its first communique on the coronavirus in February. It was February 6th, about right around that time, when we started becoming aware of possible travel that might have been associated with coronavirus. And I'll tell you that Savannah is an international community. We have people who are here visiting, but we also have people who moved here, and they are moving back and forth. So it's our responsibility as a school district that serves about 37,600 plus children every day. We employ about 5,600 persons to be aware of what's happening out in our community. What we've been doing since around February 6th is we've been convening regularly to look at what could we do and what would we need to do should there be an emergency in our area. We have very close relationships with the Department of Public Health, and with, of course, always looking to the CDC for guidance. That's the Centers for Prevention and Disease Control. But we're looking at that guidance. We're also very fortunate to have a nurse in all of our buildings, so we're able to provide those nursing services for students as they need, but also the guidance that is necessary. So we've been pretty active in this time and learning and sharing that information. I do want to share and reiterate that the school district is very fortunate at this time to be on spring break next week. That's been planned in advance. We are so happy that this is on the calendar because it's not a disruption to our normal schedule. It is what we've been planning for all year. So our families have expected to be off at this time. There is at this time no truth to the widespreading rumor at this point that we're planning to extend that spring break. That is not the plan at this time. However, we'll continue to be on watch next week. If conditions arise that indicate that we need to extend, then as you heard from the governors yesterday, we have the flexibility to do so. Safety is our first priority. So I want you to know that yes, next week our children, our staff will have the benefit of having their well-planned, pre-planned spring break. During the week, we will continue to monitor, and if there is a need for us to make a change in our operating schedule for the week of March 23rd, or any time beyond that, we will do so. As it is right now, we're expecting young people and staff to be back on March 23rd. But should something develop, as we have seen happen all of this week and last week, if something develops that indicates safety is a challenge, then we will make other decisions about operating schedules. So I want to make sure that we got that out there, because we've had lots of opportunities to look at rumors this week, and lots of opportunities to try to help people get the facts. The facts are we're on spring break, March 16th through the 20th. Everyone's expected to return on March 23rd. If there are developments during the week of March 16th through the 20th that indicate returning is not in our best interest, then we will communicate differently. So we hope you understand that. Today we have the opportunity to let everyone hear from some key staff who are here. They will talk about what we're doing to ensure that our spaces are clean. Certainly we've been talking about and communicating about what we need to do to prevent transmission. And we do have a full plan that we would typically have for spring break, but we are heightening that. So I'm gonna invite Mrs. Miller-Kegler, who is our Deputy Superintendent, to come forward and share with you our specific plans for what we will do with our facilities next week while all of our young people and their families are enjoying the spring break.
Thank you, Dr. Levette, and good morning. As it relates to all of our facilities, not just our schools, but all of our school sites and departments across the district, we're taking the time, because we are on spring break, to do what we're referring to as some additional deep cleaning. We have ordered additional supplies beyond what's currently in our inventory. Those supplies are on site. We still have additional supplies that are coming. Those supplies will be used for schools and all of the departments across the district. Hand sanitizer equipment will be installed on every bus in the school district. Each bus will be cleaned and sanitized during this time period. Each school will have a top-down, surface-to-surface cleaning conducted during the spring break period as well. So staff will be working. Bus drivers and monitors are on call to come in and assist. All 12 employees in the transportation department will be a part of the spring cleaning effort for all buses. All 400 buses in our inventory will be subject to disinfecting during this period. As I stated, we're also installing new hand sanitizer equipment across the district that will be fully stocked. Each school will receive, based on the capacity of each building, a number of hand sanitizer machines to ensure not only just the safety of our students and staff, but the community who's coming into those schools as well once we return. So we're also installing them in our cafeterias as well. We'll be cleaning the cafeterias, the gymnasium, classrooms as well. So staff is ready, we're prepared, and we'll make sure that when our students return from spring break that we will clean up.
Thank you.
We're about to bring up Ms. Andrea Burkett, who can tell you about the distance learning plans if that becomes a necessity, but a couple people here, I neglected to let you know we're here earlier. Apologize for that. Dr. Quintina Miller-Fields is our Director of our Student Affairs Department, and also Mr. Ramon Ray is our Chief of Human Resources for the district. Ms. Burkett.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share our Independent Learning Day plan with you all. While we are facing something that we've not experienced before. We have experienced weather-related issues, and to be perfectly transparent, our Independent Learning Day plan has been in the works for a couple of months now at the direction of our Chief of Schools, Dr. Brundage. Chief of Ed Services, Dr. Brundage. We convened a small focus group of teachers who have created what we call in the school system a choice board. Think of it kind of like a bingo or a tic-tac-toe type board, to provide students with activities specific to their grade level, focused on the 4 core content areas: English, Math, Science, and Social Studies, and to focus on Georgia Standards of Excellence that are critical for their particular grade level. We have a lot of students who are very much digital natives, but we also have a population of community who may not have digital access, whether it be to devices or to internet access. The choice boards provide an opportunity for students to still engage in relevant activities for their grade level, and may simply just need paper and pencil in order to do so. The information has been communicated with all of our schools and will be available through a packet that will go home with students today. That packet will have a sheet on it that we are not instituting this plan for spring break. We are on spring break next week. This is in the event that we should have an emergency school closure, this plan would be in place. The students will have the activities on the choice board. There will be directions that clearly explain the expectation of completing one instructional learning task of their choice per day that we would miss school due to an emergency closure. The students will also be provided with digital materials, so if they would like to go above and beyond that particular single assignment for the day, then they will be able to do that. Our teachers are sending home username and passwords to make sure that they have access to resources that they would typically use in the classroom now. And then we've been very fortunate that a lot of educational services have notified us that they are offering free services to students to use digitally in the event that we have to close for an emergency. The information will go home in a physical format today, and in the event that we have to close for an emergency, that information will also be posted on our website. So if students were not at school today due to any number of reasons and did not receive that physical packet, they will have the opportunity to pull up our district website and have access to the directions, the choice boards, as well as those optional digital activities. We already have on our page, under the Family Student tab, resources for parents that are there all of the time anyway, and they are specific for each grade level. In terms of communication with teachers, should we close school and have to institute this Independent Learning Day plan, all of our teachers have some way to communicate with our parents, whether it be a Remind app or a Class Dojo or Google Classroom or their email address. And so teachers know that they would be available to look at those messages and answer questions that parents may have regarding the learning activities that have been sent home. We also have, as part of the plan, that students would have up to 5 days upon the return of school to turn in those assignments. So if they struggle with something at home, or for some reason they don't have the choice boards and did not have digital access, there is still that 5-day opportunity in place for them to complete those activities. Again, only would be 1 per day, and turn in those assignments within that 5-day period upon our return. Okay, thank you very much.
One thing you might want to make your audience aware of is that the district did yesterday open up this SCCPSS Coronavirus Guidelines and Updates page. Anybody who clicks on that from the front page of our website will see this, which has every bit of information that we have put out district-wise, and also at the very bottom has links to pertinent pages, information from the Georgia Department of Public Health, information from the Georgia Department of Education, information from the CDC, etc. So that is available there for our families, and every time we put out any new update from the district, it will be added to that page. That's kind of ends the formal portion. If any of you have questions specifically that some of the folks here can address, raise your hand.
I have one. I don't know who this would go to, but when students come back from their spring break, what steps is the district taking to monitor? I know we have nurses in each school, but what steps is the district taking to monitor potential kids who are sick?
We are working.
You'll stand up so that
sure.
you just move to the center and talk to me.
Thank you for your question. We will continue to monitor upon the return of our students after spring break in the same manner that we are monitoring now, and that is to be mindful of any student or staff member who reports that they are feeling ill. We will also be in close contact with our Department of Public Health as well as the CDC for any updates or further guidelines that we need to follow at that time.
Has there been a decision made to maybe cancel pep rallies, bigger group or gatherings?
I'll need to defer that question, Dr. Levat.
Right, so and that's a really good question, and I appreciate it. When the NBA cancels, March Madness cancels, we all feel some kind of way. We have definitely investigated and looked at very closely our large group gatherings. You can probably expect some cancellations and changes because we want to be sensitive to people's thoughts and their concerns about large group gatherings. So we actually just this morning had another conversation about large group gatherings and whether we'll continue to sponsor those or cancel those for the season. We will definitely have some announcements probably in the next 5 to 7 days about those. We're fortunate in that it's spring break and there's not much going on for us this week. But certainly after spring break, there are some things that are already planned. We'll look at those individually and decide based on the conditions and the guidance that's provided whether we'll continue with those or not.
Dr. Levat.
Can you go to the podium so we can get your mics better?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's no problem.
Shall I repeat?
No, it's fine.
Okay, good.
Dr. Levat, I don't know if this question would be for you or not. As far as kids' plans or family plans for traveling for spring break, how does the district plan to, I mean, I know it's hard to monitor as you have many kids in the district, but are you asking parents to let you all know? How are you going about that?
Well, we've established an online tool that we'll certainly introduce to all of the members of our small community of about 44,000 people, students and staff alike. And we'll let them know that there's a voluntary travel registry that they can use and let us know if they're traveling. It also allows us to keep them updated about travel restrictions or any travel warnings. It also allows them while they're traveling, certainly outside of the country, if there are any operational changes planned for the district. So it's a service that we'll offer, but frankly, I can't demand that anyone tell me where they're going and how long they're going to stay. What we can say is our job is to make sure that we educate everyone in our community about challenges and travel restrictions and warnings and good advice. If they take that, certainly that's what we would love to see them do. If they decide to travel outside of the country, and we've had a few who've consulted us and said, hey, I was thinking about this, I think maybe now we're going to rethink it. That's been really helpful to us. But our job is to do exactly what Lead District Nurse Wilson said. We'll be watchful and we'll say to people, if you need assistance, especially if you're presenting symptoms, then we'll respond accordingly. But we think everyone now has a heightened sense of awareness about travel warnings, especially to the level 3 countries. I think everyone has a good idea about what those are. If not, they can go to our website and we'll certainly point that out to them. But we are hoping that people will be responsible, and if they are presenting symptoms that we witness, or if they are not feeling well, we'll suggest that they stay home.
Thank you, Dr. Levat.
Additionally, there's the schools across the country who are canceling, who are making that decision, and I mean, we've seen national tournaments, those types of things you mentioned. Why is that not a decision that the district is making at this time?
Well, we, first of all, don't want to induce panic. I am not aware of what's happening in those other communities, but I know what's happening in Savannah. I feel very confident in our relationship with our Department of Public Health. I feel very confident in our local staff, And I feel very confident that we are operating based on the information we have available to us at this moment. If you notice, every statement we make is based on the information we have right now. So right now, we are getting through today, and we are going home, and we're going to enjoy our spring break. But every day, our task force is meeting and looking at the information. If there is something that says there is an imminently dangerous situation, and a situation that we really should not put ourselves or our students in, then we will make a different decision. And we want everyone to feel confident that that is what we're making our decisions on. Not based on what's happening over here or over here, but what's happening right here in our own community. And I believe we have enough professional judgment and resources. The Department of Public Health hears from us probably every day. There's an early morning call and an afternoon call every day because we're monitoring the situation. But we appreciate that opportunity to answer that question, because I think some people think because it's happening someplace else, we should do it too. Right now, we don't see the need to do that. Tomorrow might be different, but today we feel very confident in remaining open.
You just mentioned it, but these are discussions you guys are having ongoing. Somebody on our Facebook Live had asked, is there discussion about school lunches, those types of things? If a decision eventually needs to be made, are some of those preparations happening now?
Yes, we are discussing those kinds of things. We have community partners who certainly provide lunches and meals whenever school is out anyway. So we've started those conversations. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that.
Can I ask a question? You talk about, obviously you're monitoring on a daily basis, and if something would change, your decisions may change. What are the criteria that might prompt you to change that? Diagnosed cases within the county, some issue that somebody has traveled? What are some of the criteria that you would be using?
Confirmed cases is primarily what we're using as the criteria. If there's a confirmed case, there's obviously evidence that you need to make some adjustment in how you're operating. So confirmed cases from us, and the direction and guidance we get from the Department of Public Health. They are clearly aware of all the conditions, and I think now we're more aware of what the conditions are that would call for closure. And we're depending on them and our relationship with them for guidance. So they will give us some direction. We will certainly process that, keep everyone informed, and if we need to shut down, then we will do that.
And so, can you clarify, I think we all know that there were some rumors somebody at Myers Middle School had some issues, but that is not accurate, correct?
That was not accurate, and I'm not sure where that came from. What it did was it prompted me to just remind our community of what the process is for confirming such cases. And it's important that people be responsible and not share inappropriate information or inaccurate information. It's one of the reasons why we have posted so much information on our website. We're also using our social media channels, because what we want people to do is to know, one, our job is to share accurate information, factual information. Sometimes understanding what the process is helps you question some of the things that you see posted in social media. We do know that that's where people get their information. So our job is to keep that information out there so people have a reliable source of accurate information. Will the information we share change? It will change based on conditions. So we're very confident that that was something that happened out there. We had no control over that, but our response to it was simply to state the facts. There was no such case. The hospital and the school were not locked down based on a virus case. But it is, I think it's symptomatic of people creating stories or passing along stories that simply just are not true.
How much pressure have you felt to maybe close schools in the sense that a lot of other people are closing? You must feel some pressure.
Oh, we definitely feel pressure. But here's what I can say about Savannah-Chatham County Public Schools. We are an organization that serves almost 50,000 people. We can't do something because somebody else decides it works for them. We also, while we have the same pressure to close, we also have pressure by parents not to close unless there's a real reason to do so. Because when we close down, we impact families all across this county. We are in 7 municipalities. So when we decide to close school, it needs to be for a really good reason. Because parents depend on us to be open. Now, we're not open as a convenience to parents, even under dangerous situations. But I think one thing our parents know, our decisions are based on what's safe for children and staff. And we're gonna continue in that vein. So we feel tremendous pressure to close because everybody else is closing, but that's not really the way to operate. We have not operated in that way. We have worked with our partners to make decisions in the best interest of the children. Safety is the first priority. So whether it's a hurricane, a snowstorm, a tornado, or whatever it is, our job is to make the decisions in the best interest of the children. We collaborate with others, but the bottom line is we're thinking about our children, our staff, and the families we impact.
I just have one last question, sorry. This goes back to the school lunch program. Earlier this week, we had some information from the Ag Secretary, Sonny Perdue, about this issue that if districts ask for a certain type of waiver, then I guess the food can be delivered. Is that something you're familiar with?
We're familiar with the correspondence, and we're familiar with what he suggested. If I had 2 or 3 schools, that might be something I could decide right now. But certainly we are aware of it, and we are certainly having a conversation about how we can manage that. If our children are out of school for a closure, again, next week is about spring break, and then if we're out beyond that, we'll certainly investigate probably an extension of our conversations over the past couple of days. We'll look at how we can support our children while they're at home.
If the decision changes, how will you notify families, community, the parents, et cetera?
Oh, let's see, how many ways? How do I love let me count the ways. First of all, we have a robust call-out system, so we can reach all of our parents by telephone. We can also reach them through email. We also have our website. We have all of our social media accounts. I think most parents know, because we've had this practice with all these weather events, they know how to stay in touch with us. Our website is up and available all the time. And we also have our individual parent calls that are made by school staff, but then we also have them that come directly from the district. So if there's any change, we also have a wonderful relationship with our media. And so if we need our information to get out, we also talk with you and let you know what kind of changes are going to happen.
One question that we did have emailed in yesterday was regarding spring athletic events, and so we have our athletics director for the district here, who might be able to address that question. I guess a lot of people have those questions based on all the cancellations yesterday.
Yeah.
Mr. Sanders?
Good morning. The athletics department here for Savannah Chatham County Public Schools, we obviously on spring break, so most of our schools are not participating during spring break. They take the week off and enjoy their break. There are a few schools, a few teams at some schools who have planned some games or contests, and they're being contacted now to just take a break during spring break and enjoy their spring break. We are not holding practices at our facilities because of the cleaning schedule, so we don't want anybody in the schools to interfere with that. So we're just gonna take a week off during spring break. And the plan is now to proceed after spring break as normal, follow the schedule. We will have a plan in place that if for some reason there is a closure, we'll have a contingency plan to reschedule any contest that is needed to be scheduled. There are some schools that we compete with, some systems, who have canceled athletics for several weeks. So any contests with those schools will either have to be rescheduled or just canceled. Georgia High School Association has given all the schools in the state the opportunity to cancel non-region games and not have any kind of penalties for that because of the situation we're in. So that's kind of where we're at, and we're just going to move forward and just keep those plans in place.
I guess the question that I would have for you is we just got notice the Masters has been postponed, the NBA season, NHL, all, you know, with this wave of postponement coming, do you feel that there is, again, more pressure to do that in erring in the side of caution, or is it just still a wait and see?
Yes, obviously, just like Dr. Levette said, there is pressure because of all the other activities that have been canceled. But again, as she said, because we have no cases, confirmed cases in Chatham County, we will just proceed as normal, and we will continue to monitor this week, and just plan from there.
Is that, somebody's
I have just one more question. Have you guys had any problems getting the appropriate stocking, making special calls, special accommodations to get the appropriate amount of supplies that you guys need in light of all of this?
We in Savannah Town County Public School System, we actually was out very early in front of this. So all of the supplies, after an inventory of our existing supplies, we made the call very early in this process. Most of our supplies were delivered on the 10th and the 11th. All of the equipment, as I mentioned, relative to the hand sanitizer equipment, those cases are here. We're getting a daily report from the vendor as to the installation for each school and as it relates to the number that are in inventory. So those are up and running. So to answer your question, do we have ample supplies on hand? Yes, we do.
So how much are you selling?
We're not selling it. No sales. I mean, this is just an unknown, it's very fluid, and our goal is to make sure that we ensure the safety of our staff and our students and our community. So, you know, kudos to the facilities team that, we spent late nights very early on the telephone with our vendors, making sure we could get those, orders processed, to our finance department, who assisted us in purchasing and getting those purchase orders processed, and now we are accepting, deliveries.
Thank you.
I just want to offer a special thank you to you for coming out today. We recognize it's a very, very difficult time. It's a time we haven't planned for. Frankly, going back to 1918, I'm not sure what kind of press conferences they had then. But it's important for you to know how important you are in terms of us getting the message out. So we appreciate your taking the time to come over and to get the information so we can get accurate information out. That's what's really important. We recognize people are feeling a lot of angst and stress during this time because we don't know anything about this time. And things are changing daily, by the hour. It is really very, very challenging. But what I know is we have a great team in the school district who have planned and executed faithfully and with great skill during our other emergencies. This is a continuation of some of the protocols that we've had in place for a good while now. And we think that our families will appreciate our erring on the side of caution. We've been blessed by having spring break this week, which allows us to take stock, take inventory, and also to prepare for the students' return. We hope, and our plan is that everyone will return on March 23rd, but we know that if conditions change and they must return after that time, that they will be prepared. They'll understand what's happening, they'll know how they can protect themselves, and they, I think, can feel confident that we will have done everything within our power to ensure that they are returning to a clean environment and that we're all practicing good hygiene. So we appreciate your being here today, and as Sheila said, if you have any additional questions, we'll be here beyond this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Levette.